If you're a short-term rental owner, you might be wondering, how many TVs do I need? What size should they be? And how do I make the whole experience as easy as possible so that I'm not getting bombarded with questions from guests all the time?
You guys know how to work this TV?
We've learned a lot from setting up TVs at short-term rental properties, and today we're going to break down everything you need to do to get it right the first time. So let's dive in.
One of the top questions that we get asked when it comes to TVs at STRs is, how many should I have?
The answer to that question is going to depend on the property, how many bedrooms there are, if there's any kind of additional living space or flex space, or maybe a game room. Maybe you'll also have an outdoor living area, but a general rule of thumb that we follow is there obviously should be a TV in the living room, and then for sure at least one other somewhere else in the house.
To break this down by the number of bedrooms in a house, it would look something like this. For a one-bedroom property, we would recommend 2 TVs, one in the living room and one in the bedroom.
For a 2-bedroom property, it's probably fine to still stick with 2 TVs, one in the living room and one in the primary bedroom.
And then for larger properties, usually that equation looks like the number of TVs is equal to the number of bedrooms in the house. So you'll have one in the living room, and then maybe one of those 3 bedrooms doesn't have a TV in it. We usually skip adding TVs into kids' rooms or rooms with 2 twin beds, but feel free to adjust that for your target demographic.
The reason that we skip kids' rooms or rooms with 2 twin beds is that families often prefer not to give young kids unrestricted access to TV, so we'll often add some books or some simple toys to kind of round out that kid's space.
Once again, we really don't think that there's a hard and fast rule when it comes to how many TVs are in your short-term rental. We're just sharing what we do and what works for us.
Now that you've decided how many TVs you need to buy, let's talk about what size TV should you get for your property.
With the prices of TVs becoming more and more reasonable, our go-to for a living room is 70 inches for that cinematic guest experience. But you may even want to go bigger than that if it's in a really large living room or a house with a high occupancy and a flex space like a game room or a theater room.
In a primary bedroom, a 55-inch TV works well as long as it fits. One rule here is don't try and squeeze in a TV that's too big for a space. And then for smaller bedrooms, you can probably go even smaller. Maybe a 40-inch TV would work for a pretty small bedroom.
Base your decision on the size of the room and also the wall that the TV is going to be mounted on. Too big of a TV is going to overpower the space, and too small of a TV is going to just be underwhelming.
Boom, size does matter.
Size does matter.
Now that you've decided what size to buy, let's talk a bit about brands.
This is an area where, again, you're going to get a lot of different opinions, but we don't think that you need to spend a lot of money on a TV for your short-term rental. We'd rather get 2 and put them in 2 different places for the price of some of those really nice ones.
We typically buy our TVs from Costco or Walmart, depending on pricing and availability. But over the last few years, we've kind of standardized on buying TVs from either the Hisense or TCL brand with the Roku interface built in. One thing we have noticed is sometimes the Roku interface is becoming harder to find lately, and the market in budget TVs is more dominated by Google TV built-in TVs, and we don't really have a great experience with a Google TV. Guests have found it harder to use, and if someone logs out of that Google TV, it requires logging back in with a password for your Gmail account and Google's 2-factor authentication, and usually it becomes a messy guest experience, so we've tried to stay away from the Google TVs.
Our biggest priority is easy to use for the guests, so we don't implement things like sound bars, and we like the Roku interface because it is so simple to use. Not only with navigating between the home screen and the different apps, but also because you only need one remote to operate the TV.
Another nice perk is that all the remotes are interchangeable between these Roku TVs, so in the event a guest loses one during their stay, they can grab one from another one of the rooms and still be able to control that TV. Or if somehow they've lost all the remotes, there is a Roku app that you can get for your phone and control the TV that way.
We have tried other smart TV systems like Amazon's Fire TV and Apple TV, and they're fine, but nothing really compares to the ease of use of the Roku interface. Since these TVs are going into rental properties, we want to make sure that they are durable and safe, so we almost always mount them to the wall.
But here's a little secret. The biggest price gouge you're gonna find isn't on the TVs. Retailers all compete on TV pricing. It's the mounts that you're gonna pay for.
I'm not paying for that.
Retailers like Costco have great pricing on TVs, but they're gonna charge you around $100 or more for some of their mounts, and you just don't need to spend that much. We will link our favorite one down in the description box below, which is around $20.
Installing a mount yourself is pretty straightforward if you have some basic tools like a level, stud finder and a drill. Just make sure you do find a stud and put the mount into a stud for safety and security. For a clean install, where possible, we will reposition a nearby outlet lower on the floor, up to behind the TV to hide the wires. But sometimes that's not possible, not feasible. We buy these cable channels that hide the cord as it goes down the wall. Just makes it look nice and tidy versus a cord just dangling down your wall.
And if you do use the cable channel versus going inside the wall, we like to get these flush mount extension cords. So the white extension cord is plugged into the wall, going up through the cable channel and then attaching to the plug on the back of the TV so that you aren't getting the black plug coming out of the bottom of the cable channel.
It's a big sticking point with her. She likes
it's
the white.
It's a small thing, but it looks so much better. Leave me a comment down below if you agree with me. For larger TVs, it is easier to have two people there to finish the job of mounting the TV up on the bracket. We have had incidents in previous installations where TV got dropped on the ground and was not salvageable afterwards.
Get an extra set of hands, but this was one TV I dropped out of like 200 that I probably put on, so
it's fine.
You know, it happens, but an extra set of hands is a good thing.
Leonard, the two of us can't even carry a TV.
Where you're going to place the TV on the wall is also important. Ideally, if you're placing a TV in a bedroom, it's going to be opposite the bed. But if that's not possible, you can use a pivot mount that will make it adjustable.
But don't force a TV into a room where it doesn't make sense. Sometimes there isn't enough wall space to get a mount and a TV mounted, and it might be best to just skip that room and not have a TV altogether.
We've also seen TVs that are mounted way too high, which can be uncomfortable to watch. As a general rule, the center of the TV should hit eye level when you're seated.
There was one particular place where we stayed as a family and we walked in and all the TVs were like all the way up at the ceiling. It felt like a sports bar and just wasn't very comfortable to watch, so keep your TVs down at a medium level.
So now that you have your TV purchased and mounted, let's talk about apps.
TVs with Roku have what's called a guest mode, and that means that guests are able to log into their own accounts and the TV automatically logs out of them at checkout. Some hosts really love this feature, but it isn't something we use in our properties.
We provide a live TV streaming account, usually YouTubeTV. So if we were to enable guest mode, then it would be logging out of YouTubeTV all the time, and we want to make sure the guests have access to that.
We find that many guests want to watch local news or sports or sitcoms, and having a live TV option enables them to do that.
Right now, YouTubeTV costs $82.99 per month, and we will leave a sign-up link below with a special offer if you'd like to check it out for your property.
When it comes to operating short-term rentals and the TVs at them, especially when you're at scale, a little prep work goes a long way. Here are some of the best practices that we implement to keep things running smoothly and guests happy with our TVs at our homes.
First is that we keep spare remotes in the supply closet at every property. I don't know how remotes go missing. Maybe they drop into people's suitcases and get taken home by accident, but however it happens, it does happen, and it's nice to have that spare there so we can replace it before the next guest arrives.
These spare Roku remotes are cheap on Amazon. Usually you can get a 2-pack for less than $10.
And we also keep a small selection of batteries in a little plastic container, sort of hidden somewhere in the kitchen, usually in a tall cabinet or on a high shelf in the pantry.
We do this in case a battery dies during a guest stay and they let us know about it. We can direct them to the spare batteries without having us to take a trip over there or letting them into our supply closet with all of our other supplies.
Third, we test each TV before every guest. So whoever from our team is handling the inspection that day is going to be going around and finding the remotes for each TV, making sure they're in the right spot, and then turning them on, making sure everything loads and that YouTubeTV is logged in.
Another tip is that we label remotes where they belong. The Roku remotes are interchangeable, so it doesn't really matter, but it is nice to keep things organized so remotes don't all end up piled in one room.
Where's the remote?
So that is everything that we think you need to know about setting up TVs in your short-term rental, from choosing the right size to the right height to mount it. We hope this guide has been helpful to you.
If you've got any TV tips or setup hacks, drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
And don't forget to check out the links in the description for all of the things we talked about in today's video, like the TV mounts and that sign-up offer from YouTubeTV.
We'll leave another video here on the screen we think you might want to watch next.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.